first thing we want to do is talk about what do the Chicago Bears currently have at linebacker. And so I pulled up, overthecap.com and went to go look at all their salaries. Tremaine Edmonds, $22 million cap hit next year. TJ and 3 years remaining on his contract. TJ Edwards, 2 years left, $7.5 million cap hit. So in most NFL defenses, you're playing mostly two linebacker, right? And that's
Yeah.
you got your two guys right there. And then behind him, last year you used a draft pick on Noah Sewell, making almost $1 million on cap hit this year, 3 years left on his contract. Jack Sanborn, 1 year left, almost $1 million. Again, two guys that you probably feel like might be able to start for you. And then you got Mika Baskerville too on a 1 year deal. So what do you think the need is here, Robert?
All right, Q, let's be just so real about this, right? There isn't one. If there's any position that the Bears have nearly no need at, it's linebacker. I mean, we could go through the entire rest of the roster. You could say that they're pretty good at corner, but you can never have too many good DBs. You could say that they were pretty strong, say at running back, but well, if they could get a top running back, they might not pass up on the chance, right?
Right.
And then nearly every other position, like say tackle, for instance, I think they're great at tackle, but you could always add more top end talent. But truly, here at linebacker, I mean, not only do you have TJ Edwards, who played last year like one of the best linebackers in football, you also have Tremaine Edmonds, who, let's be real, Q, you're just not going to not play him. There's no world with how much he's being paid, especially given that his salary is guaranteed for next year and it's more or less guaranteed for the year after that, because about $9 million of it will become guaranteed over the course of the 2024
Oh, does it have
season.
one of those like
Yes.
delay years and guarantees?
Yes.
I didn't realize
Yes.
that.
It's got a late trigger. And so,
Okay.
unless the Bears are eating dead cap now, spoiler alert, they're not. Then you've got your starting two linebackers. You've got one of, I think, the more fun linebackers in football. That's Jack Sanborn, who fits the mold of TJ Edwards spookily. Because what is it? They're both UDFA linebackers out of Wisconsin,
From
primarily
Chicago.
like from Chicago, primarily instinct backers. Like the 1-to-1 there is hilarious. And then I like this may be blasphemous. I like Baskerville a little more than I like Sewell, but that's not me coming after Sewell. It's more that I think in this league, if you can't cover, you are open space for a good quarterback to exploit. And at least so far, we haven't really seen Sewell thrive in a coverage role, though he's such a naturally heavy person. Maybe they want him to be a thumper. If the Bears pick a linebacker, I have to imagine, Q, they're looking for a teamer. But maybe they see the opportunity to upgrade one of these positions or add spectacular depth in the third or fourth round if the right guy falls to him. I mean, let's be real here. This is also their coach's favorite position. So
Yeah.
all bets are off when it comes to where they draft who.
I imagine that Matt Eberflus is like, so if I sit down and start watching Bucky Irving, is that the Oregon running back?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Bucky Irving tape, my eyes are going to drift to Jackson Powers Johnson. It's just the way it is.
That's who you are.
Yeah. And I imagine for Matt Eberflus, if he sits down to watch defensive tackles or safeties, his eyes are just always drifting to linebackers.
Everybody's got a favorite, man. I'll
Yeah.
never not end up watching quarterbacks and wide receivers, but that's part of why you see me on DBs this year is because I spend so much time watching the wide receiver. Okay, so a joke I always tell my brother that because both of us are big sports nerds is behind every great hockey goal is a missed opportunity for a save. Right. And in that same way, having to define what is good wide receiver play and what's poor DB play is something that I know I'm a huge fan of. But when it comes to linebacker, man, that's one of, I think, the most interesting parts about all this discussion. It is hard in the league to find good linebacker play. And kudos to Matt Eberflus. You and I were talking about this in Mobile, where there are a lot of defenses that have all but forsaken their linebackers, where if they don't have a Fred Warner, they're just going to take two guys and they're going to try to hide them. I'm looking at you, Atlanta, right? I'm looking at you, Sean McDermott
Yeah.
in Buffalo. And
Philadelphia is
McDermott
a great example for a decade now.
Mhm. McDermott has run a defense that uses its safeties to flex, and then you look at Eberflus, and I do want to tip my hat to the guy because he's gotten way more out of the position of linebacker than I thought you could do in the NFL, especially with two linebackers that other teams let walk. Say what you will about TJ Edwards' PFF grade in 2022 or the fact that Tremaine Edmonds would have probably been kept on had the Buffalo had the salary cap. They still made it to free agency. So kudos to Eberflus for showing that there's another way to do it. And I think that's part of what makes this discussion so fun.
And I think that's a really good segue into the next question that we have before we dive into draft prospects of what are you looking for in linebackers for Matt Eberflus's system?
So for me, at least, Matt Eberflus always wants his linebackers to be able to fit the run. So you have to start there. But he's also going to ask his linebackers to play very key roles in coverage. Not that they're going to do anything other than defending space, but they have to be able to play eyes to the quarterback. It is what it sounds like, Bears fan. It is staring at the quarterback and moving as he moves. When the quarterback's eyes go left, you shuffle left. When the quarterback's eyes go right, you shuffle right. You keep your eyes in front of you. Occasionally, you're going to peek to your left or your right to get a sense for what the formation's route concepts are resolving into. But the goal is to have these seeing eye moments that we saw Roquan Smith do with Fangio, but we especially saw TJ Edwards, I thought, did a lot of this last year where he simply moves in front of the passing lane, but he doesn't even know if there's a receiver there. He just feels it, right? So if you can do that and you can fit the run, Matt Eberflus likes you. And apparently, according to Tremaine Edmonds, if you could take up coverage space and you could pursue laterally, you don't even have to fit the run. And Matt Eberflus may like you anyways. But
Yeah.
linebacker's so tough because there's just not that many guys that do it all.
Yeah, no, I think I was along a very similar thought process in it. Like if I was watching a linebacker and I felt like they couldn't get downhill against the run or be able to stack and shed, and by that, for anyone who might not be familiar with it, get your arms into the blocker in front of you and be able to get them off you, move them to the side, and you keep going like that. That is a big thing within what Matt Eberflus wants to do. That combined with, I called it zone instincts, but very similar to what you described of like being able to understand the passing lanes, kind of find your way to get in the way of something that might be behind you, I think is a big deal. And we had a friend in the chat, Berlissimo, good to see you. He has an unpopular opinion here that Sanborn might be our best zone linebacker.
He's right up there, man. I mean, I think Edwards had a better season last year, but Sanborn, when he got the chance to play, played so well. And I think a lot of that, BL, is partially because Sanborn subbed in at the Mike position, and the Mike position in the Eberflus defense gets a lot of action. And I'll always wonder what they're saying in the coaching room when they're talking about a guy like Tremaine Edmonds, because you put Sanborn in there, and suddenly he's fitting the run, he's crashing downhill, he's still handling his pole runner duties way better than you'd expect of a UDFA. And I have no idea what they want. I mean, again, you can't sit the $18 million guy, but part of me always looks at that kind of tape and goes, okay, what did we want out of Tremaine? Because if we planned this whole defense around him coming downhill and fitting run gaps and stacking and shedding, did you watch enough tape for that? But I'm a guy on the internet, so I always assume they at least think they know more. So I would have loved to hear their reasoning if we ever got it.
Yeah, agreed.